Hi, everyone. This is Kristen Platts for My Ag Life, and today I'm joined by Franz Niederholzer, UCC Orchard Systems Advisor for Colusa, Sutter, and Yuba counties. Franz will be speaking next week at Almond Day on June 3rd at the Fresno County Fairgrounds, where he'll be discussing pre-harvest nutrition and tree health considerations heading into harvest. Welcome, Franz. Thanks so much for sitting down and chatting with us today.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks for the chance to be on. Appreciate it.
For growers who might not be familiar with what you're going to be discussing next week, do you want to just give us a little preview of what you're going to be speaking about?
You know, Pre-harvest timing is important for a bunch of different factors. The current crop for one thing, and then at the same time, pre-harvest or pardon me, hull split timing, generally speaking, between hull split and harvest is when a floral bud differentiation for next year happens. So, keeping a tree healthy and maintaining, at least eliminating or reducing extreme stress at that time. Extreme stress is never a good idea, but
No.
particularly at that time, because again, you're growing the crop for this current year. The kernel that growers get paid for really accumulates weight and marketable mass during June and July. So you're building your income for this year and you're setting up your income for next year with floral differentiation. At least those things are occurring at this time, and you want to make the most of both this year and next year. And now is the time. There's
Yeah.
no more important time than right now.
Well, that kind of segues into one of my questions for you. What are a few practical things that growers can be evaluating right now in the orchard to help protect their yield and ultimately maintain the health?
Water is always the
Mm.
thing that comes to mind first. If you have a whole, generally speaking, you want to maintain 100% ET to maintain photosynthetic activity and grow the nuts. If you have a significant issue with hull rot or a history of hull rot, there is some moderate, not extreme, but moderate stress you can apply for a couple of weeks right around the beginning of hull split, and then go back to once the splits happened, not the butterfly, but once the splits happen throughout the canopy, then you can go back to full water. But generally, overall, that's a fine point in some orchards, but overall, maintaining at least adequate and preferably 100% ET or close to it, maybe 95% ET through to harvest cutoff. You want to have maintain your potassium applications if you're spoon feeding through the season. Maybe it'll zinc, but really the most important thing is to let the tree grow the nut that you've already established. And you don't want to drop the ball, but there's really not much you can do to force a change. You just want to sustain the health of the orchard. And in June and July, there's no tougher time.
So water is important, obviously. As growers do think towards harvest, what are some of the biggest nutritional aspects they should be thinking about?
You're pretty much finished with nitrogen. If you don't want to have a high level of nitrogen in in mid-season, because or July, because you're going to be at risk of increasing hull rot.
Right.
But you don't want to fall behind. Potassium, again, you want to keep up with potassium. Nitrogen, I say, is more of a hull rot issue. A little zinc may help, some small amount of zinc through the season, and particularly pre-harvest could be important. But those are the things that come to mind.
Okay. And you kind of touched on this at the very beginning, but some of those late season management decisions can impact next year's crop and
Yeah.
performance as well. Like, just reiterate, like, what are some of those really important things that they need to be thinking about that are going to affect next season?
Yeah, your boron levels, depending upon, you want to make sure you plan to take a hull sample at harvest to determine your boron levels. That can make a low boron, not even deficient, but just low boron can mean fixing that can mean hundreds, couple of hundred pounds of yield improvement versus not doing it. And that's given the modest cost of a foliar boron in the fall, that's a huge return on investment, making sure your boron levels are right. And most of that gets done between harvest and bloom and in the foliar application.
Good
That's
point.
yeah. Some zinc in the fall, although more research suggests that any time of the season's okay, but zinc is fall is a time to put some zinc on. Nitrogen is not as critical unless you're deficient.
Mhm.
Fall potassium's important, again, keeping up a maintenance program, or you can spoon feed in season. Those are the big ones that come to mind.
Yeah, okay. As we just kind of wrap up this, we don't want to give all the secrets away to what you're going to be talking about, but what do you hope growers are going to take away from your talk next week in Fresno?
There's so many things mechanically that have to be organized for harvest. crews and equipment, things of that nature, making sure you're taking care of the health of the orchard, maintaining the health of the orchard, as well as pest management, things of that nature. But don't forget orchard health management on those brutally hot days that as we come into harvest.
Yeah, okay. Important to think about since we are coming into the hot summer months here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to your session. Thanks so much, Franz. I'm really looking forward to just the entire day, but to see what you have to say. We've been speaking with UC Orchard System Advisor Franz Niederholzer about his upcoming session at Almond Day on June 3rd at the Fresno County Fairgrounds. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Franz? Before
No, thanks. I appreciate the invitation to speak, and I'm really looking forward to being there.
Me too. You can find registration information and the full agenda for Almond Day at myaglife/Almond Day. For MyAgLife, I'm Kristen Platts.